You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy Podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all fantastic, safe and well. Welcome to another Three's a Crowd, the only Northeast football podcast. What happens when you bring a Mackem, a Geordie, and an Aussie that loves Middlesbrough together? Chaos, banter. In fact, so much chaos that they may even get fired from certain radio shows that can't be mentioned anymore. That's how chaotic it is. We welcome you all in for another fantastic show. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all the love, comments, and subscribes all throughout the week. We love all the feedback that we get, and thank you so much for joining us once again as we look back, look forward, and talk about another fantastic week of Northeast football. Newcastle had a fantastic week. They came up big against Karabag. Newcastle will be progressing into the next round of the Champions League. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about that emphatic win over Aston Villa as well. Sunderland had a good 1-0 victory over Oxford United, today's opponents for Middlesbrough. So we're going to get some feedback off Teddy Boy and what Middlesbrough can expect against Oxford United. I think it's going to be defensive, but they've progressed in the next stage of the Cup. We didn't get a juicy Newcastle-Sunderland draw, though, but we're going to talk about who they're going to be playing. And Middlesbrough will be taking Oxford United today at the Riverside Stadium. All that and a lot more coming up on today's show. But first and foremost, we have to say a very good morning to my co-host. Over to you, Mr. Teddy Mackems. Good morning, sir. Okay. Teddy Mackems is not happy. But staying silent.
Completely glitched there. Completely glitched.
Oh. No.
I heard you say something about rock out. No,
I said let's rock out before.
Am I
I gave him. So for those, yes, you are. So what happens is before we go live, I give them a little bit of a pep sort of stay up, and I said let's rock out with our whatever rhymes with rock. And Ted, I think Ted's still shocked.
Let's hope it does still.
I said good morning to you, Ted.
I am absolutely. But good morning, lads. Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's just I seem to be on some sort of dial-up connection today, which is absolutely marvelous. That's just what we needed, isn't it? But yeah, yes. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy it. I'm on my own this week, lads. Mrs. Ted's left me on my own for 10 days to go back to the UK and visit our family and friends. So it's just me, the 4 cats, and a tub of Chinese food and a couple of beers.
Geez, not bad life, that is. And they say he's too beautiful for camera. That's why it's turned off for the podcast. Mr. Steve Wraith, good morning.
Good morning. I'm not glitching. Good to see you both. And yes, the away day run continues for Newcastle. Newcastle couldn't win an away game for months on end, and then 3 come along like a bus. So yeah, amazing stuff, and into the Champions League. Albeit we've got a game to play against Karabag on Tuesday, but we're there.
Please,
we're into the last 16. It's a toss up now between Chelsea and Barcelona. And in the words of Elvis Costello, I don't want to go to Chelsea. I want to go.
Bring on Barcelona, that's for sure. Well, let's talk about it because Steve, obviously, it was an emphatic win. It was a 6-1 victory in the UEFA Champions League. But let's take you back a step further because we did have that that Newcastle versus Aston Villa in the FA Cup, same time that Sunderland played Oxford, obviously. We were looking to see if Sunderland and Newcastle would pull each other in the jaw, but they weren't to be. But I tell you what, mate, that FA Cup game against Aston Villa was an absolute hoot to watch if you're a Newcastle fan. Going to Aston Villa, a tricky place if you're a Newcastle fan, that over the past sort of previous couple of months, Emery is obviously a fantastic manager. He has them firing, but they went down to 10 men, mate, and honestly, Newcastle were rampant, and 3-1 victory at Aston Villa was incredible, and you continued that form during the week.
Yeah, I mean, the FA Cup game, I think even the most optimistic Newcastle United fan must have thought that, the FA Cup dream was over for another year. But, it just shows you this season is such a strange season. Newcastle United, and other teams will hold their hands up. It's the strangest season ever. And to go to Aston Villa, who had almost an exemplary home form, and turn them over by 3-1. That was beyond the wildest dreams. Then you've got to point to the refereeing and the lack of VAR, and literally on NUFC matters for the last 7 days. That's all we've talked about. We've talked about the lack of VAR, but also the lack of just the lack of knowledge that linesmen and referees have. The advance of technology has been at the detriment of good refereeing and good assistant refereeing. They are now too reliant on technology, and when there is no VAR, are unable to make decisions. That's what came out last week's game. And we've gone over it until we're black and white in the face. This week, the offside. There wasn't just Tammy Abraham offside. There was. You could possibly say there was another 2 people offside in that goal. How did the linesman not see that? No. Then there was a serious case of ABH against Jacob Murphy. He was taken out knee height. He was very lucky not to sustain a serious injury. And yet, nothing done about that. That should have been a straight red, for Digna. It should have been. Yeah. I could go on, but the officials were awful. And we, since we started this as a radio show and then moved it online, that's all we've talked about, because our radio show and YouTube show and podcast now has coincided with rules being changed, and the rules are making the game worse, and it's awful. Newcastle, though, benefited from the keeper getting sent off, and I watched it and it was poor, but you've seen goalkeepers just get yellow carded for stuff like that. Yeah. So even that was a bone of contention. But as soon as the keeper went off, Villa were down to 10 men. And Newcastle, who since that defeat against Brentford at home, have got themselves together in the dressing room. They've shook themselves down. They've had a look in the mirror and they've decided, right, we don't want Eddie Howe to leave. Eddie's our manager. We haven't been putting the shift in. We haven't been doing things properly. We're going to stand up for the gaffer, and we're going to go out there and play the best we can and get results. Why it took a defeat against Brentford at home for them to have this meeting and do it, I don't know, because let's face it, there was performances before that game that were a lot worse. But what seems to have happened is, and it's happened time and time again under Eddie Howe's management, is we've had this backs against the walls reaction, us against them. And there's no better feeling in our dressing room under Eddie Howe than that. Shut yourself off from the world, shut yourself off from the media, shut yourself away from the white noise of social media, and let's just get out there and do what we do best, which is playing football, scoring goals and beating other teams. And that's where we're at the minute. And 3 away wins in the space of 10 days is fantastic. And not just 3 away wins, but 3 comprehensive away wins, 3 away wins, which people were doubting Newcastle could achieve. People, including myself, were saying I would settle for a draw in Karabag. Newcastle went there midweek and absolutely put a performance of their life.
11 goals in the last 3 games.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So look, amazing. The FA Cup, that's what we're talking about, though. Yep. I put a bet on at the start of the season Newcastle would finish 5th in the Premier League and they would win the FA Cup. Let's just look at it. Let's look at it honestly. Newcastle United, won the Carabao Cup last year. They had a very difficult ties and they had a very difficult final. They did it. Don't write Newcastle United off winning the FA Cup this year. There's every possibility they could. We know we've got a tough hurdle to go. Yeah. We got drawn against Manchester City in the in the 5th round, but it's at home. And we play Manchester City today in the Premier League. So it's back-to-back games.
It's a preview, isn't it?
It is, of course it is. But there will be thoughts in Eddie's mind. Eddie will probably want to win both games. Eddie will be looking at that Carabao Cup. The players will be looking at that Carabao Cup. They will be smarting with the fact that they lost home and away to Man City and that, and a chance to regain their trophy. So don't write Newcastle off in either of these games tonight or the FA Cup the way we're playing. And the beauty of this as well, and I'm dragging it on a little bit here, but we found a way to play without Joe Linton. We found a way to play without Bruno. We found a way to play without Botman. We found a way to play without all of these players this season. And as it has transcended now. We are looking at different formations. Walter Marder is now dropping deeper. Eddie's now found a way of playing Walter Marder in the team along with Gordon. And it all feels very positive again, and that's how fickle football is, really. That really is.
I mean, it's this season in a nutshell, isn't it? I mean, you've got a bad loss to Brentford, and then to go three good wins, 3 emphatic wins away from home on the, you would have thought it was doom and gloom. And we made note of it again, wasn't it, against that Tottenham game, about how that could have been the sack race. Well, it went Newcastle's way, and we saw that Thomas Frank would be sacked from that game. And it's incredible what, a couple of games of football can be. And then you have this, this Karabag as well midweek where you're 6-1. I mean, that is incredible performance. I mean, with the injuries and everything that's going on, I mean, let's not shy away. Karabag are in the Champions League, whether you like it or not. They're up there, and that was away from home, and Newcastle were able to go and get a massive 6-1 victory midweek. I want to talk to you just quickly, guys, about the referees. Now, I don't know if you remember this, and some of you old school followers might remember when we were on the radio. We actually had a very young, I believe he was 17 or 18 at the time, a young referee. Do you guys remember this? And he came on, he was talking to us about how he was becoming a referee, and he was looking forward to getting into the English Premier League system and all this sort of stuff. I want to know what you guys think, and I'll come to you first, Teddy boy. With the new young referees, do you think that they are getting trained from that young age to have VAR and to have this sort of technology at their fingertips? Obviously, they've got to start in grassroots football where they're not going to have VAR and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, I wonder what type of training and what type of nuance these new young referees are getting to come into our game in the next 5 to 10 years, because that's what we're looking towards. And I think you see all these, we've come off the week where most Northeast teams feel hard done by. Now, I'm going to say Middlesbrough felt hard done by against Coventry. There was a lot of interesting tactics used by Frank Lampard against some of our better players to knock them off the ball. No VAR in the Championship. We kind of wish there was on Monday night, but some days we don't. We have the Sunderland game, obviously one against Liverpool and like that, Teddy boy, where there were some interesting tactics. And obviously Steve's just finished talking about that. Do you think that the next generation of referees, Teddy boy, are going to be worse than ever because of the situation, the technology that we've put in place to football today? I know it's a sidewinder, but I just wanted to get your thoughts.
I don't think they'll start off that way. I think they'll start off, as they do, and I know the young lad who you're referring to as well. He's actually he's the son of a friend of mine.
That's right.
So, yeah, and I know he's still refereeing. Like sort of doing like sort of Northern League, that kind of level, which is a very good level, to be honest.
I want to hear from him again.
Yeah. We'll try and get him on sometime. But yeah, I don't think they'll start off kind of to the standard of somebody like Chris Kavanagh, who, oddly enough, I believe has been struck off from the Premier League after what happened in his last 2 games, which isn't a surprise at all. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I think there will be a kind of they'll be getting prepared for it, but surely that'll be much further down the line when they're getting towards the Premier League level, maybe Championship level, because let's face it, they'll probably do all they can to bring it into Championship games as well shortly. The only thing that's stopping them right now is some of the teams who are coming in from League One don't have the greatest of facilities in the world. Recently we had Luton Town in there. To be honest, I mean, you couldn't put a disposable camera in Kenilworth Road, let alone a VAR one.
True.
It's not great. But yeah, I think both me and Steve have been around Sunday League and lower leagues, either playing or watching, or in Steve's case, even coaching, to realise there is actually a good standard of refereeing going on there. Yeah. And they have to be, because there isn't any reliance. A lot of the time, you're relying on somebody to run the line for you. Not even a proper referee's assistant or linesman or line-or, whatever you want to call them back in the day. You had to be on your game as a referee. Don't get me wrong, they weren't all great, and I'm thinking of my time playing in Stockton Sunday League, where we saw some dreadful stuff going on, but it's no worse than what we've seen from Chris Kavanagh, and that's the mad thing. So, no, in answer to the question, mate, No, I don't think they'll be lazy when they first start. I think everybody starts at that same level. They've got to work their way up. It's what the professional referees, and I'm using that in very loose inverted commas, do with them once they get to that level, because that's where it seems to be going awry.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting, I think, obviously, for the future of it. And I think one thing that I'm interested to see is what the next generation of referees are going to look like in our great sport, because it's going to be interesting after the week we've just had. Lads, let's look obviously back at Sunderland's results against a good. We can get some insight from you here, Teddy Boy, because obviously Middlesbrough travelling. Sorry, I've got Oxford United at home today, so I want to get some insight on here. But a good 1-0 win against Oxford United. Now I know Matt Bloomfield well. He's obviously the ex-Wycombe manager. He then tried to keep Luton Town up. He failed in that, and he was sacked subsequently. He's now got the job at Oxford United to keep them up. I know Matt Bloomfield's style of football is, holy geez, park the bus and then put another one on top. And then if you can find two more, put them on the wings, because it's just trying to keep points. And it seemed to be, again, as I watched the replay of that game, Teddy Boy, similar tactics. Obviously, some of them were able to break them down and find a goal, but they did dig in. And then for the 3 seats of each side of the stadium and the car park, because there's one side of the stadium that is a car park, It wasn't the greatest watch, mate, but I think Oxford United are a very defensive team. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, they were tough to break down, and obviously, it was a cup game, so they had that little bit more to play for. They were a bit more physical than what we expected, to be honest.
Yeah,
they've made some half decent signings. They weren't without their attacking threat.
Okay.
They actually played some decent stuff at times. And yeah, I read some interviews. It was an Oxford United fanzine had been interviewed before our game, where they said that since Bloomfield had come in, there was a couple of goalless draws where, he's trying to stop leaking goals as much as what they were. Yeah. And I think, we didn't put the strongest of sides out, let's be honest. But at the same time, it was still, a very good championship side we managed to put out against them. There was times where we struggled. I thought physically they were very, very up for it. But you're going to get that in a cup game especially when they're playing against a Premier League side. They're going to want to stick the boot in a little bit. There was a lot of belly aching going on about some of the decisions the referee was making, but we've had no luck all season. So I'll be honest, we'll take that all day long. I don't think it's going to be a rollover today for Middlesbrough by any means. I think it will come out on top of it. I just think you've got to be very, very patient. I think the fans have got to keep lifting the team, even if it's 25, 30 minutes in and there's still no goals and kind of looking a bit dogged. That's what you're going to expect, because Oxford aren't going to come up here. They're not going to go to Teesside and play expansive, stretch out the park football. It's not going to happen. Yeah. It's just going to be horrendous to break down, and it's going to be a nasty away performance. So you've got to take your chances when you get them, mate. It'll not be a rollover, but I still see Borough coming out on top of this one.
Well, let's talk about it, Steve, because obviously Middlesbrough came off a bad loss on Monday night against Coventry. It was a battle of the top two. Middlesbrough would have been 2 points clear, I believe, if we had beaten Coventry. We weren't able to do it once again. Call it a bogey team, call it Frank Lampard, call it whatever you want. Middlesbrough were outdone, outmuscled on the Monday night. It seemed to be, and I hate to say it, one of those typical Borough performances that we're always scared of. And I'm not sure, obviously, if Newcastle and Sunderland have it, but there's always a sticking point in the back of my throat knowing that which Middlesbrough team's going to come out and play today. And sometimes it is that classic, typical Borough. And we saw that Monday night. They were just out-muscled. And Frank Lampard, I think he told his players to stick the boot in a little bit, and they did, and they really did put off some of our players that weren't used to that level of physicality, because we haven't seen it. We've been able to play hellball, which is this possession, keep it off the opposition sort of style. But when when they're leaving late tackles, and it really did shock the foundations of Middlesbrough, and we were unfortunately unable to come away with the win, mate, going down 3-1 to Coventry to give them back the first place in the championship.
Yeah, I think we predicted a 2-2 draw last week,
we did.
And it was tight. That's what we expected, and I don't know. It's the championship, isn't it? It's the way that the championship works. It's roller coaster ride. And we always knew that was, that was a key game, and Lampard would have to have them up for it. So it didn't surprise us, mate. It didn't surprise us. I've got to be perfectly honest. And I did watch the game. I haven't managed to watch many of Borough's games this year, but I did watch that. And they just had the bit between their teeth. The forward, the forward. I can't remember his name. Who got the hat trick on the night?
Yeah,
that was his night. Yeah, it was his night, and it's just one of them things. It's a result that the key thing for Middlesbrough is the bounce back. They've got to bounce back, and you couldn't get a better game to do it. You've got to bounce back today, and you need a comprehensive win today.
Yeah, no, we honestly we do, and we need to really put them to the sword, especially back at the Riverside. Obviously, Middlesbrough, just like Newcastle, are coming back from a few away games in a row. Obviously, Newcastle won't be at home again today, which is incredible, but Middlesbrough will be at home back at the Riverside today for a 3 p.m. kickoff, which is going to be looking likely our last 3 p.m. kickoff. And I think, Teddy boy, you would have seen this more than anyone end of last season, mate, in the Championship Sky. Seemingly, when you get into that top 4, top 3, seemingly decide that they can change every single fixture to their TV likings, mate. And I think I think today is our last 3 p.m. Saturday kickoff, mate, for the rest of the season. The rest are Mondays, Sundays, 5:30s. It is absolutely horrid what they have done to our scheduling. And it's incredible to the Borough fans to still stick through, because it's a long way to go from the Northeast, as you guys both know, to go down to the likes of, Leicester City and QPR and Birmingham, which we've got coming up as well. Some say it's not the biggest, but it is still a long way to go on, and especially when they're moving them to Monday nights and Wednesday nights and middle of the week performances, and it's incredible. So it's going to be interesting for Middlesbrough fans, obviously having to make that travel, but the way they're playing at the moment, not any Middlesbrough fan would want to miss any hellball. Let's just talk quickly about the FA Cup. Obviously, both of you into the next round. Middlesbrough chose to focus on league football, which is the smart thing to do, but you two have decided that you want to continue in the FA Cup, which, whatever, it's a bit boring, but if you guys want to do it, you guys want to do it, and I'm not going to hold that against you. We were looking forward to trying to get a Newcastle and Fulham draw, but we couldn't do it. To my dismay, Newcastle United first, mate. You pulled out Man City from the hat. Man City at home, though, Steve, which is going to be very interesting because, as we said, we got the preview of it today. Man City away. Were you expecting anything else in Newcastle's draws?
Not really, mate. It's we're used to it now. There's no corruption. It's just what happens. It's just the way. It's just the way it goes. And obviously, as well, when you get later into these competitions, then the likelihood is you're going to draw a big team. And the fact that Sunderland got a better draw than we did. People are obviously going to say there's a conspiracy theory, but it's just one of them things. Look, we're used to it. If we're not getting Arsenal, we're getting Chelsea. If we're not getting Chelsea, we're getting Man City. But the bottom line is that Newcastle United still managed to win the Carabao Cup last year, despite these draws. And if you're going to win these competitions, you got to beat the best teams. So at some point you are going to play a big team. At some point you're going to play Man City or Liverpool or Arsenal at Wembley if you don't get them in the qualifying round. So what better way to do it than get it out the way, in the 5th round at home, with no replay. Man City have to come with the mindset that they are going to try and win the game, and that plays into our hands. So, it's not like a Premier League game where they can come up here, sit and be cagey for a while and then try and hit us. They're going to want to win. They're not going to want extra time either. Newcastle aren't going to want extra time. So, the fact that we play them tonight and then we play them in 2 weeks' time, I'm not sure whether that will come into it. As I say, I think Eddie will want to win. I think Eddie will want to win both games. I think the team will want to win both games. I think they will look at this and go, we've been beaten in the Carabao Cup. We've been knocked out by this team. We're beaten home and away. Let's show them that we're no mugs. And I think that's the kind of mindset they'll have. Of course, things can change. Of course, injuries determine who plays and who doesn't play. But Newcastle have had the travel, of course. They've had to put up with this week, so that the team will be slightly different today, I think, at Man City, and then we've got Qarabağ again on Tuesday. So I think this will be a completely different team tonight to what plays in the FA Cup. But am I disappointed? No, I'm not, mate. I'm pleased.
Yeah. Teddy boy, obviously, and it's a good comment from the beautiful Hells Bells in the chat, who said, how sketchy was it that they called Newcastle for the last and then Sunderland after? How close it was for a derby. I mean, it was on everyone's lips, especially me watching that draw, mate, because we were hoping for it, but it wasn't to happen. Obviously, Sunderland will pull the winner of Port Vale and Bristol City. That is still yet to play. I believe that's happening in March, early March, I believe.
We'll have to
wait till that result.
That's another thing that's annoyed me about schedule fixing as well. Schedule planning, whatever you want to call it.
It's annoying, isn't it? But obviously,
yeah,
exactly. Well, how do you feel? Obviously, you got past Oxford United, you're into the next round. You haven't pulled another Premier League team. You will be playing either Port Vale, who are in League One, or Bristol City in the Championship.
Yeah, I mean, it was a decent draw for us, I guess. You can't really ask for much more than that. Would have been maybe nice to get one at home, but it's not to be yet. But yeah, obviously the Port Vale Bristol game still yet to be decided. I'll come back to that. We were then called out, and then the next ball out was Newcastle. So yeah, I think we've it was a bit too close for comfort, as Hell's Bell has pointed out. It was a bit of a stroke of luck. We haven't ended up with that. Apparently, in the rehearsal, it did come out in the rehearsal.
Oh my
God! It was Sunderland versus Newcastle, which not everybody is advertising that, but there you go. But yeah, so the fixture, obviously, Port Vale still yet to play Bristol City because their game was called off due to the weather. So that gets played 5 days before we play the winner of it. Now, it's obviously you're going to take. We always take a decent away following, but to have 5 days' notice to go to either Port Vale, which, let's be honest, it isn't too bad. It's sort of Stoke area. What is it? 3 hours drive, I guess, from the northeast.
Yep.
Or Bristol. And I'm sorry for planning for away fans. It just goes to show that whoever is, we can't say. Planning the schedules, guessing these schedules, just don't give a stuff about the fans. They really don't. That for me, to give 5 days' notice to get people to get travel arrangements. If it's at Bristol, it's probably going to be an overnight stay. So yeah, it's a bit naff, mate, to be honest. But very happy with the draw. So I've got a bit of a cold. I keep on sniffing. I do apologise. It's really annoying me.
We'll forgive you.
Thanks. I'm going to have a hot curry later on just to try and clean myself out of it. Yeah, listen, as Steve's right, sooner or later, if we get past Port Vale, Bristol City, we are likely to face one of the top sides, and that's what it's all about. You've got to beat them in order to win trophies. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the cup run. It's the furthest we've gone for quite a few years. So yeah, let's have some fun. I'm sure it'll be a decent following whoever we play against. It'll be a decent game. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't make the TV, that one, especially if it's Port Vale, a League One versus a Premier League side. It's always going to be a bit of a decent tie. The thing that interests me is what Regis Labrise does with the squad selection for this now, because the further we get in the competition, you start to think, do you know what? Depending on who goes out, obviously we've got all Premier League ties to come. The more that happens, the more you're starting to think, we've got a chance here. If we really start to play our cards right, does he still rest the likes of Brian Bobby for games like that? Probably not. We've got to start and take it a bit more seriously. So yeah, it's nice still being in the FA Cup, to be honest, as much as we have got business to attend to in the Premier League, and we're back at that tomorrow, which is great, with Xhaka back as well, which is massive for us.
Massive.
I'm enjoying the magic of the FA Cup, mate.
No, it's going to be interesting to see, obviously, in a Port Vale, Bristol City, as much as you don't, as much as we're leaving that to the 4th of March is as frustrating for you as it is for many Sunderland fans, I think, obviously, it's almost we can and should get past them, especially the way Sunderland have been performing this year as well. And I think you will see as well at that stage in the 5th round.
No, you're not getting me on that. You're not getting me on that. Absolutely not. It's the FA Cup.
100% are putting the curse on you. And we beat Port Vale to get into the Carabao Cup semi-final as well. So I'm just saying, I mean, if that it's written in the stars, mate. It's written in the stars.
That's it. We're on our way.
We're about to sit down and talk about the fixtures coming up. We've got Middlesbrough versus Oxford. We have also got Newcastle, Man City, and obviously Sunderland are taking on Fulham, I believe. Fulham, but it's not till Monday morning my time, so it'll be Sunday night football for Teddy Boy. We'll talk about that and a lot more as we always do. But for now, it is time to sit back, charge your glass, because it's time for everyone's favourite. It's time for Troll of the Week.
We start with a trip to the supermarket, and you've seen people walking cats, you've seen people walking dogs. I've never seen somebody walking a Hoover, though, to the supermarket. There we are, out with a Henry Hoover. And when I did get to the shops, I was looking for some new shelving, lads. Managed to get it and managed to put it up this week. So there we go. Fantastic. And a lot of people were knocking at my door this week. I did a bit of a paint job outside Shares Wraith. Not sure why they were knocking at my door. I'd have to change it. Yeah, it looks a bit like B&M's, doesn't it? Anyway, the cash machine outside the shop, lads, was broken, and so was the penis. Please use finger.
Oh,
well, great advice.
Yep.
And I did laugh at this week. Thanks to James for this one. People saying managers won't want the Forest job. Are you mental? It's 3 months' work for 2 years' pay. Literally the best job in the world.
So true.
It's all going pear-shaped at the Emirates again. All going pear-shaped. And to be honest, Mikel, Uncle Andy's got a better chance of getting his title back, said Prince William to Mikel Arteta. New badge being unveiled at Arsenal.
Oh my God.
And credit to this young lad who turned up at his school book day with a copy of the service crew.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that was a Leeds school book day. Fantastic. I'm pretty sure one of these guys is his dad. Look, get the badge in, lads. Get the badge in. Fantastic.
Have a look at the badge.
Father, uncle, and son there, and matching coats as well. Very, very good. We've had a lookalike sent in. Well, we've had an absolute belter of a one sent in today. Can we see Rye on this photo?
Oh, hang on. Come on.
There we go. Bottom left. Bottom left.
No way.
Paul Smith says, hi, Steve and the boys. Missed the podcast this morning, but thought I'd share this screen grab from Borough TV. Inside match day coverage from the game the other night. I'm sure the guy in the bottom left corner is Rye's doppelganger. Keep up the great work from Smudger up the Borough. So there we go.
Have a look at him.
Right.
There I am.
The guy has been blessed, hasn't he, with those looks. Bruno may be injured, but he still follows the lads. I love this. Carabao Cup game midweek. There he is in a cryogenic chamber. What a game, boys. Watching the match. Superb. And this didn't go unnoticed with me. The Carabao mascot was a horse. So Newcastle fans were singing, "You're getting punched in the morning. Punched in the morning." And there's nothing better on a away trip when you can spot a lookalike. Here's another one. This guy was serenaded by Newcastle fans. Sandro, ole, ole, ole. Sandro, ole, ole, ole. Yes, brilliant. It does look like Sandro Tonali.
He does.
Everybody has seen it. And Sophie said, we want our money back. The theme at St Andrews, 15 minutes after kickoff, barely moving. Once inside, people stood on the stairs because there's nowhere else to go. Dangerous as. So there we go. Yeah, it's not just us that have to go through these things. There are lots of people who suffer grounds. That needs to be looked at. It certainly does. As does this pub outside Grimsby, the Rutland Arms. Yeah, that was in an away game in the FA Cup last week. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. How the hell do you get in? Is that the door?
I guess so.
Well, thanks for that.
We're more worried about getting out.
This is brilliant, by the way. Here is how they do the FA Cup draw for anybody who was interested. All the balls go in one bowl, and if Newcastle are drawn, They just put a ball in with City in. Mickey B said if Newcastle manage to get past Man City in round 5, they will face the 1970s Brazil team in the next round, with the winner of that set to face the Harlem Globetrotters. Just in case anybody's wondering how the FA Cup's going to win. Walter Marder's reportedly unhappy at Newcastle and would welcome a move back to Stuttgart or Bayern Munich, says the BBC. John replied, the BBC could tell me it's raining outside and I'd still go to the window to check. I would believe nought that they report. And this was bizarre. On Mirdad Gadusi, one of our former owners at the club. Happy birthday, Mirdad, and happy Valentine's Day to you both. I'd happily sit on the corner of your bedroom with a lampshade on me head and watch you go at it, says Kieran. Mirdad replied, thanks for the offer, but I think we'll give it a miss. Kieran then replied, no worries, Mirdad, all the best, mate, up the mags. So, interesting exchange on Valentine's Day. And this Winter Olympics finishing tomorrow, lads. Getting excited, of course, for the Winter Olympics, and all eyes will be on the ski jumping to see if Andreas Wank can pull it off. Good luck to Andreas. Why not? And Andrew Mountbatten uses a cunning plan in an attempt to make all charges disappear. That's it. True. That's it for this week. You can email us on nufcmatters1892@gmail.com or contact us on social media and get us some tweets. Thanks, Chippers, for that late one. Very good, mate.
Oh, my goodness. Brilliant as always. Brilliant as always. That was Troll of the Week. If you have any submissions, you can get it in to each and every one of us. Thank you so much and welcome back to the Three's a Crowd, the only Northeast football podcast in the world. That's right. I said it. The world. Challenge me. Challenge me. We bring a Newcastle fan, a Sunderland fan, and a Middlesbrough fan together, and we talk, we laugh, we have a bit of banter, and we thank each and every one of you for joining us. We've looked back in the first half of the show. We then had a break. It's now time to look forward, and none other than Middlesbrough kicking things off with a 3 p.m. kickoff this afternoon. We have got Middlesbrough versus Oxford back at the Riverside Stadium. We then have got this. You can all Northeast fans, you can see every single Northeast game this week because they're all separate. They split us all up. Normally they put us and Sunderland together for some reason, but they haven't done it this week. We've got Middlesbrough taking on Oxford. We've got Newcastle away to Man City. That is the 5 p.m. kickoff? Steve, I apologize because of the time difference. It's 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, my time. Does that make it 5 p.m. for you?
What's that? Today's game?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nighttime kickoff, mate. It's 8 o'clock.
Okay, I was close. So 5 p.m. into 8 p.m. So let's just change that. So it says 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, my time.
Yeah.
At 10 p.m. for you. There you go. And obviously Sunderland are playing Fulham at 1 a.m. on a Monday morning. That's rough timing, that one. I tell you, I hope everyone's awake for that one. But Teddy boy, what is that actually in real world talk?
Well, thanks for absolutely throwing that all over the place, Costa. Right, I'm on Cypriot time, mate, so it's completely different to what everybody else is. So you've absolutely knocked me for 6 there. You've just talked a whole lot of verbal diarrhea and spat a load of times at me.
Oh, time zones kill me, I tell you. I'm just trying to make you show how bad it is for me. Middlesbrough at 2 a.m., aka 3 p.m. kickoff for Middlesbrough taking on Oxford at the Riverside Stadium.
2 o'clock tomorrow for us. UK time.
There you go, UK time. Middlesbrough need to bounce back, and it's an understatement. Not an understatement, and I don't think, and I said this in midweek, Middlesbrough fans, I don't think it was a rotten performance against Coventry. It was just one that we wanted to win, because then the emphasis on these next couple of games, against Oxford United and Leicester City, who are both in the relegation zones, wouldn't be as needed as it is now. Because if we want to stay in that top 2 and we want to keep Ipswich at bay, we need to start taking some 3 points away from these couple of teams, because unfortunately, we dropped points against Coventry. Middlesbrough will be looking to make some changes, you would think, from that game that lost on Monday night to Coventry City. Maybe the likes of Sarmiento to come in. Kim Helberg gave an emphatic press conference yesterday talking about how he thinks some of the players that have been on the bench and haven't been starting are probably ready to start. People like Jeremy Sarmiento, David Strelic as well, the striker. He was very emphatic about him as well. So maybe look to those two. Maybe we look to see Tommy Conway getting a rest. But it's going to be a tough old day at the Riverside Stadium against Oxford, because I think they're going to come and they're going to really park the bus. They're going to be on the low block. They're going to be on the defensive. I know Matt Bloomfield is just looking for at least a point away from home, because they are sitting in that relegation zone, and Oxford United are desperately trying to stay in, and we are desperately trying to take 3 points, obviously. So we're, as Teddy said as well in the first half, if you missed it, he did summarize it well, because we're going to have to take their chance as well. They're going to have to finish well. And unfortunately, we were bullied out of it. Ted also has alluded to the fact that Oxford United are very physical as well. Well, that was one thing that was our undoing on Monday night against Coventry City. Coventry City came and played a very physical game. They were argy-bargy. They were pushing us off the ball, and we had no retaliation for it. The only real big body player we have in the Middlesbrough squad is Addison Malander. The rest are all sort of the Alan Brownish sort of type. And I'm not saying Alan Brown is a pushover. I'm just saying they're sort of that, around that 6 foot, 5'9" sort of stature. And if, with big bodies of Oxford United, Will Lancashire up front on loan from Tottenham and stuff like that, Middlesbrough are going to have to be up for this one. And maybe we'll see Dale Fry come into that centre back pairing as well, because we saw Luke Ayling get absolutely bullied by Haji Wright and his big physical presence as well. Teddy boy, I'll come to you. Middlesbrough are looking for 3 points against Oxford United, mate. You are the most recent team to play Oxford United, but I still believe that hellball and the possessive type of football we can do is going to play well. But unfortunately, on a Monday night, wet in Coventry, our passing was severely lacking, mate. And I'm really hoping that Middlesbrough can turn it up today, back on home soil against Oxford United.
The last time Haji Wright scored a hat-trick, I just checked this because it was ringing a bell with me.
Thanks
the last time that Haji Wright... No. This is reasons to be cheerful for you, mate. Last time Haji Wright scored a hat-trick before the one against Middlesbrough was against Sunderland in the season that we got promoted ahead of Coventry City. So if there's any, I like omens, me. I like them. Okay. So there's hope yet, mate. It was disappointing, obviously, for you to that defeat. It was disappointing for me as well, because I can't stand Coventry. I would rather than go out of business and close up the gates forever, as far as I'm concerned. We posted on our page about absolutely can't stand them. There was Sunderland writers actually back in Middlesbrough for that match. We got called Timu Geordies by some Coventry fans, which I thought was hilarious. And what was it? Living rent-free in Coventry. Sorry, Coventry were living rent-free in their heads. Rent-free is a bit of a funny one, because Coventry have only just actually started owning their own stadium. But anyway, that's by the by. Honestly, I really, really think Lancashire is the player to watch. You've already alluded to it. I was really impressed with him. I honestly think exactly the sort of player that Middlesbrough should be looking at, by the way. This lad's actually got something about him. He's big, he's physical. Oh, come on, man. It's every week.
There's that chin.
Wow. Every week, without fail, Mr. Wraith. And I know for a fact he's smirking. Even though we can't see him, I know he is. He's smirking.
There's a smile behind that fake camera, that's for sure.
Listen, like I said, Lancashire is the one to watch. He's big, he's physical. The thing that actually curtailed him was Luke O'Nien getting in his ear a bit. And it was a proper old-fashioned centre half versus centre forward kind of battle. There was little digs going on. Knock off, Wraith. That's horrendous.
The chin.
Like, sleep well, don't have nightmares. Come on. Like I say, mate, Lancashire's you want, get in his face. The centre backs have got to, give him the rough all treatment. It's championship football. Give him an elbow in the ribs, just as long as the referee doesn't see it. Yeah, give him a bit of a rough time. And I honestly still think that you'll triumph over them. Yeah, they are going to come and park the bus, mate. But these are the ones where even a draw's not the end of the world here. I strongly suspect Coventry will get beat today, to be honest. Is it today that West Brom?
Yep, it is.
I think honestly, I can't see them. I think they really looked out against you. I think they got a couple of decisions there where they were very physical, whereas other referees probably wouldn't have let it go that far, I don't think. Listen, nothing to worry about for Borough fans. It'll be a tough game today. Get behind your team, as I know you all will, and just make sure it's, all the way till the end, because these are the games where they can prove difficult. And if you sneak a 1-0 win in the 90th minute, it's as good as a 3-0 win any day of the week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be obviously a one physical battle as well. And I think that was something that unfortunately, when you're on the main stage on a Monday Night Football, you're the only team, the whole world watches. Do you know what I mean? And I got text messages and everything from everyone around this Monday night game. And one of the big comments out of the Monday night loss to Coventry, Steve, unfortunately, was the lack of physicality that Middlesbrough have. And he thought that a lot of the comments were how we were bullied. And, even Stephen Horns just put it here in the chat as well. He said, obviously, where was it? Sorry, Middlesbrough, the poor young Borough lads were kicked off the pitch by Coventry, which is it's a massive assessment of Middlesbrough. And I think that if Oxford United are coming to do similar, that Middlesbrough are going to have to pick up their shin pads and dig in for this one.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I think you'll bounce back, and I agree with Ted. I think Coventry will slip up today. I think it's just one of those nights that you get. I think that was the blip. I don't think Middlesbrough suddenly collapse like a pack of cards. I think there is a resilience there. Just sometimes those big games don't go your way. There's not a great deal of harm done, and I think we'll bounce back, and I think you'll take it seriously, and I think the fans realise that. So I do think it'll be a positive result for Borough today. I genuinely do, and I think if you can tie that in with another slip up for Coventry, I think you'll be fine. So I wasn't too down for you, mate. I've got to be perfectly honest.
Well, I'm going to go for a big 3-0 win today. I just think, obviously, Middlesbrough are going to put Oxford to the sword. I think Oxford are going to have to open up and try and get some points on the board. I think they won't be able to sit defensively because Middlesbrough will just keep possession and they'll hold the ball off and they'll find a way through. So I think at some point, Oxford are going to have to try and come at us, and obviously they're going to try and open up, and I hope Middlesbrough can find a way through on the counter. So I'm going to go 3-0. Teddy boy, how do you see Middlesbrough just in the prediction-wise, mate, against Oxford?
It'll be tight as a duck's backside, mate, to be honest. Like I said before, it'll be very much park the bus and put another one on top of it. I'm going to go 1-0. I just will say, though, sometimes getting a bit of a physical kicking in the game before isn't always a bad thing. It builds character amongst young lads. And, I think some of our players needed that little bit of a kicking and a physical battle in the game against Oxford United as well. Wow. And they'll turn into a better place for it, mate. They'll learn to dish it out as well as take it.
Well, I hope so, and I hope they do learn, and I hope they learn very quickly. Steve, just a quick prediction on Middlesbrough versus Oxford, mate.
I'm going to go for a 1-0 win for Middlesbrough. I think you will win. I think it'll be tight, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 win and back, normal service resume, mate.
Fingers crossed that Middlesbrough can return to the top of the championship, lads, and keep pushing to get back into that promised land of the Premier League with Sunderland and Newcastle next season. Newcastle, looking ahead, have got Man City away in what is a preview of that next round in the FA Cup. It's going to be very interesting. Newcastle obviously lost to Man City last in the Carabao Cup, getting knocked out by Man City. Man City have obviously improved, adding Semenyo and Guehi. I think it's going to be a very interesting battle because it's going to be at Man City, but if anything's to go by of the last 3 games, Stevie, the past away fixtures, I mean, as I said to you in the first half of the show, 11 goals in the last 3 away games, mate, is nothing to be scared of, I think, now heading to the Etihad Stadium.
It's a free hit today for Newcastle. It really is. I think Newcastle will go down there with their tails up, their confidence high, and with a really big thing. They're going to try and beat Man City away and at home in the FA Cup. I think that's the motivation. They knocked us out of the Carabao Cup. Let's show them that there were no mugs. These kind of records are there to be broken. We've got a horrendous record in the Premier League, as we know. We've talked about it before. And I just think Newcastle will go down there with a bit of confidence. If you had to pick a game to win, I'd rather win the FA Cup game. This is a free hit. We'll lose today. There's no problems. We're not going to win the Premier League. I still think we'll gain a European spot of some sort before the end of the season. So this isn't the be all and end all. The next set of fixtures for Newcastle is where their season is panning out. Man United at home, Everton at home. Those two back-to-back home games are key for where Newcastle could finish at the end of the season. But we're a different beast to where we were 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's all very positive. So we can bounce back as well. If we get beaten today, we can bounce back on Tuesday night against Karabag, put another decent performance in, and then we're heading into this group of home games. So yeah, look, I'm positive. I'm going to go for a draw tonight. I think Newcastle will get a draw against Man City. I think Newcastle are good enough to get a draw. I think it'll be quite a cagier game than normal, though. I think it'll be a cagey game. I'll go 1-1. I'll go Man City to take an early lead, but Newcastle to get a late equaliser and a 1-1 draw.
That's going to be very interesting, Teddy boy. I think I'm going for a 1-0 win to Man City. I just think Man City, obviously, at the Etihad are just too tough. I think, obviously, the way they're playing, and I think Newcastle have done what they've needed to do over the past 3 games. I think they've had a fantastic win against Tottenham. They've obviously progressed in the FA Cup. They've progressed in the Champions League. But I think, obviously, today they may take the foot off a little bit. They've got Karabag at home midweek as well. I just think Man City at home here for 1-0 victory. How do you see Newcastle taking on Man City at the Etihad?
Well, lightning has struck twice because I absolutely completely agree with Steve. I don't see Newcastle getting beat today, mate. I really don't. I think winning is habit forming, and while they might not win today, certainly going unbeaten is it's now something that they're taking a bit of pride in. And I'm seeing a different side, certainly in the last couple of weeks from Newcastle, where they look a bit more like what they have done under Eddie Howe in recent years. I can actually see a 1-1 each draw here, and all right, they might not get through in the FA Cup. I'm hoping not, because the Metropolitan Police must be absolutely terrified that we're going to make it through to the semis or the final. I mean, that just doesn't bear thinking about for them. Mm-hmm. But league-wise, I think they've been impressive. You can't say any other. They've gone out there and they've proven the doubters wrong. And the Eddie out crowd just seem to have gone rather quiet again. Mm-hmm. I like Eddie Howe, by the way, as a manager. Somebody who I would love to see in the England job personally. I know Steve would hate that idea right now, but I can see it happening. I really can. I think he's one of these where he's earned his respect. He took Bournemouth from relatively nothing into the Premier League, plays a decent kind of football, and he's reaping the rewards for that. And going up against Pep, yeah, they haven't had the best of results down there in the past, but I just see them. I fancy them for a 1-1 each draw today.
I think, really, as we're seeing with Michael O'Neill as well, you can do the international job and you can do a club job at the same time.
Very true, mate. Very true.
Very, very good point. Yeah, and obviously he is taking on the Blackburn Rovers job, and he's got them firing as well. They had a big win on Friday night, so he's doing well. Is Michael O'Neill, and obviously there is thing. If this isn't FIFA, you can do both jobs in the real world as well. It's going to be incredible. Let's look at Sunderland moving forward onto against Fulham at the Stadium of Light. It is a 2 p.m. kickoff for tomorrow for Sunderland against Fulham. A tough old draw, a game that's going to be very interesting, Ted, just because of the table. Obviously, Sunderland sitting on 11th on 36 points, but Fulham right behind you in 12th on 34 points. It's been an up and down season for Fulham. Obviously, Marco Silva's come under some, duress. He's obviously looking maybe not to be at the helm at the start of next season. It'll be interesting to see. But I think Fulham are looking to try and get 3 points here to solidify themselves in the top half of the Premier League. But as are Sunderland, who are creeping 4 points away from that elusive 40 points to stay in the Premier League. It's got a juicy affair written all over it, mate. But a tough old tie against Fulham, mate. And obviously one that proved tricky in the first half game. Second game, here at the Stadium of Light. How do you see you playing against Fulham?
Well, the big news obviously is Xhaka is back.
Correct.
And that's absolutely massive for us. Huge thing for us. It means we go back to the system that we're comfortable playing, first and foremost, which Xhaka does this kind of quarterback role where he comes and collects the ball from central defenders and it opens up play. It means other midfielders playing in their more natural positions, so Siddiqui can push forward with Diarra, and it just starts to look a lot more promising for us. Xhaka, considering the age and all that sort of thing, and we are going to have to look at a replacement for him at some stage, because you would probably guess that next season will be his last season anyway, before he hangs up his boots, or certainly starts to take things a bit easier than Premier League standards.
Yep.
So we need to look at that, but let's enjoy him while he's here. The only other big team news is Reynaldo will miss the next 4 weeks through a knee injury, which is a big loss. But at the same time, when Serkin has been called upon this season, Dennis Serkin has done very, very well. He'll take this opportunity as well. His contract's up at the end of the season, and I know the whispers are he wants to stay at the club, and he's not getting, he's not spitting the dummy out. He's not throwing the toys out the pram. He knows that Ronaldo, it's a guy who's coming from Atletico Madrid, for goodness sake, so he knows he's got to bide his time. I think he'll do a bang-up job for us. Even if Serkin doesn't play, could switch Hume out to the left, Mukiele back into his right-back berth, and the team just looks so much more balanced and so much more positive with Xhaka back in it, regardless of what happens across the back four. I can see revenge coming. I didn't think we were too bad against Fulham, but we did get edged out at Craven Cottage. I can see a totally different story this time. I think we'll have a bit of a resurgence, shall we say. The fans are owed a performance. It wasn't brilliant down at Oxford. We got the job done. It was professional. We've had 2 games where we were robbed against Liverpool. No complaints against Arsenal, but the game against West Ham was poor as well. We're due a performance here, and I think we'll get it. And I will go 2-0, and I think Mr. Brobby will be back on the score sheet as well.
Going to be very interesting. I went for a 1-0 here against Fulham for Sunderland being at the Stadium Light, and exactly what Teddy was saying. I think Sunderland are looking to solidify that place in the Premier League. That was the goal at the start of the season. They are merely 4 points away. There is a tough old draw coming next at Bournemouth away. I think a 3 points here at the Stadium of Light will do them ever so good, and obviously keep Fulham from taking that 11th spot in the Premier League. Steve, how do you see Sunderland taking on Fulham at Stadium of Light?
Yeah, I mean, Sunderland's games have been either wins or draws, haven't they? Mostly this season, a couple of defeats in there. But I don't think it'll be a win. I think it'll be an entertaining draw. I think Fulham do come with a bit of a reputation by being party poopers, and they can be. They're a difficult team to break down, like most teams are in the Premier League, to be fair. But I'm going to go for goals. I'll go for a 2-2. I think Sunderland might not get it all their own way. So yeah, 2-2 for me, mate.
It's going to be very interesting, lads. It's been a fantastic show. We've looked backwards, we've looked forwards. We are absolutely looking forward and screaming towards the end of the season. But lads, it's not over when the fat lady sings that the season. It is over for the Northeast teams. But then we go into the World Cup. Can you believe it? The World Cup is on the doorstep, and Australia will be in there. England will be in there, obviously, as well. It's going to be an interesting World Cup. But lads, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this before we end the show. Breaking news out of FIFA this week, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, is that ticket sales for this World Cup are 50% less than the last World Cup, all right? 50% less. Now, we spoke about this on the show a couple of weeks ago when they released the prices, how the pricing was absolutely ridiculous. It was over the top for certain games to get to there, not let alone the World Cup being in America, shared with Mexico as well. I mean, are you surprised, just quickly, Ted, that the ticket sales are so low for this World Cup, given where it's being played in America? Do you think it's based on location, or do you think that there just hasn't been enough promotion for it? I mean, what is your thoughts? One, are you surprised? And two, why do you think ticket sales are so bad for this year's World Cup?
Oh, God, you're trying to get that out of me before we finish on 60 Minutes.
Correct.
I'm not surprised. I hate FIFA. I hate the way the tickets are done. The tickets are far too expensive. This new ticketing model is just an absolute disgrace. Again, it's gentrification of the game, which is perverse, really, having gentrification. But you're talking about having a World Cup in America, which is full of the most uncultured people on the planet, and certainly the most uncultured running it. But there you go. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. The World Cup's got no business being in the USA whatsoever. It hasn't. It's not even the third most popular sport over there. It's a business decision rather than in the interests of the game. FIFA don't give an absolute toss about it, let's be honest. I'm not surprised at all. Far too expensive, not in the interest of the fans. I'll begrudgingly watch a couple of games, mate.
Steve, just quickly, mate, before we wrap things up, are you surprised at the lack of ticket sales for this year's World Cup? And what do you think is the reasoning behind the lack of, 50% sales, over half the sales that they were at this stage of the World Cup last time around? I mean, it's pretty ominous.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, and I concur with most things that Ted says there about it. I mean, I think as well, when you watch, what the World Cup does to the country that accepts it, it drains it really. The only people who make money out of the World Cup are FIFA. And it's awful to see. You end up with white elephants of stadiums being built and stuff like that. I mean, there won't be as much of that with this World Cup, but yeah, excessive ticket prices. You've got to bear in mind as well that these places aren't close to each other. It's not like England where you can travel 360 miles, from one stadium to another, and it's easy to get to. This is a lot different, You're talking planes, trains, and automobiles to get to the next fixture. It's going to cost you an absolute fortune. So no, it's wrong. It's greedy, and it's no surprise to see. It's no surprise to see, lads, that they haven't sold. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell, really.
There you go. It's going to be very interesting, lads. That is all we got time for. Thank you so much for joining us on Three's a Crowd, the only Northeast football podcast. We've spoken about Newcastle, Sunderland, and Middlesbrough to our heart's content. It is now time for all three teams to go off and play some beautiful football. We all wish you all the best. If you are traveling to any of the games, please travel safely. Enjoy your day out. Middlesbrough fans obviously taking on Oxford. Newcastle will be traveling to Man City, and Sunderland will be hosting Fulham. And then next week we will come back and we will look back on all of those results and look forward once again right here on Three's a Crowd. We thank over 500 of you watching live on all different platforms. We do appreciate all the love and support. Thank you so much. We'll be back same time, same place next week with three ugly mugs. Maybe not Steve's. We're going to keep him hidden. It just gives a little bit of once, to it, doesn't it? It's a little bit of mysteriousness.
It's just good to get rid of the good-looking one every once in a while, doesn't it?
It's just we've got to bring them. We got to calm them down because the comments just go wild when Steve shows his face. It's crazy. So tune in next week if you want to see what Steve Wraith actually looks like. Maybe he'll
see
have
what his new headshot looks like.
Exactly. Well, new headshots. New headshots? Maybe. Take care of another. Be kind to one another. Be safe in this crazy world of ours. We will see you all next week right here on Three's a Crowd.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.